Welcome to this Embarcadero Technology Partner Spotlight presented by Gnostice. Gnostice creates components for working with PDF and Office documents. My name is Girish Patil and I'm the founder of Gnostice Information Technologies. Today, we'll see some of the new features of the Gnostice technology that is focused on PDF forms and exporting reports to PDF. As this is the first presentation by Gnostice in the Partner Spotlight series, let me tell you a bit about our journey so far. Gnostice was founded in 2002 and our focus from the start has been to provide tools and components for document processing and working with PDF documents. We released our first products, eDocEngine and PDFtoolkit, in 2003, and these products were for Delphi. In 2005, we released PDFOne for .NET and Java, which were intended to be one-stop solutions for programming with PDF documents. In 2009, we created an intelligent converter to convert PDF documents to flow-based, easily editable Word RTF documents. By now, it was time we moved into something bigger, and so we started work on realizing our vision of creating a common framework for working with multiple document formats. We call this technology XtremeDocumentStudio. We released the first version of XtremeDocumentStudio for .NET in 2012. Followed by XtremeDocumentStudio for Delphi in 2013 and then for Java in 2014. In today's presentation, we'll be focusing on XtremeDocumentStudio Delphi. Simply put, the vision for XtremeDocumentStudio is to enable everything developers need to get done with documents. We are focusing on PDF and Office documents to start with. We are enabling this through a single product so developers can achieve their goals easily and seamlessly across various document processing operations and across various formats. Just a few more bits of general information before we get into the real technology itself. Here are the options for purchasing the Gnostice products for Delphi. To get all the Gnostice products for Delphi, you may purchase Xtreme Dev System Delphi. It includes XtremeDocumentStudio, eDocEngine, and PDFtoolkit. XtremeDocumentStudio Delphi Ultimate is the one that includes both VCL and FireMonkey support. And the Ultimate Edition is what's included in Xtreme Dev System. You may also purchase the products individually if your need is only for one product. The XtremeDocumentStudio Delphi product page gives an overview of the capabilities of the product. You can also download the free trial versions from the downloads page and take a look at the included demos. Lastly, we have shown many of the capabilities of XtremeDocumentStudio in our CodeBridge presentations in the past. These presentations also cover PDF and document technology in general. You can access these videos and demo source code from gnostice.com/CodeBridge. All right. Today, we'll take a look at the new PDF forms processing and report export capabilities of XtremeDocumentStudio. What we are going to see are also some of the requirements with PDF forms that our customers have commonly wanted to get done. And they are to enable end users to interactively fill, save, reload, and update forms, bind PDF form fields to database fields and capture input into a database, import PDF forms data to database as a batch operation, and as a general requirement, export reports to PDF and also PDFA. These capabilities have been incorporated into XtremeDocumentStudio and will soon be available in the official release. We'll use a real-world form sample, the W9 Taxpayer Identification Number Request form, in these examples so we can see the issues in dealing with such forms and how to overcome them. Let's start with the interactive form filling demo. To enable interactive form filling in the viewer, we just need to include the form filling operation as one of the allowed operations by setting the viewer's preferences.allowedOperations property. We can then load a PDF that contains form fields, fill values, save it, or load an already filled form and edit values and save the form. Let's try that. And let me open an already filled form. So, this is all straightforward and it's useful when you want to persist data in the PDF form itself. Now let's look at how we can bind the PDF form fields to database fields and persist the data in the database rather than the PDF file. So in this case, we'll be using the PDF form only as a template to acquire data and present stored data. Before we see this demo, we need to understand the structure of fields in our PDF form. Let's use an application built using Gnostice PDFtoolkit to inspect the fields. Here are the fields with their actual names as in the PDF. The fields starting with the letter C are the checkbox fields. They are grouped by their name, and that's what tells the viewer that they need to be treated as a radio group where only one of the item can be checked. The field design in the PDF raises two issues for us. One, the names are not very meaningful, and we definitely don't want to use these names for fields in our database table. And two, the 6 checkboxes here represent only one piece of information, that is the federal tax classification. With this design, we can't get the tax classification by just looking up one field. And it's also not easy to build a report if the fields had to remain this way. The document viewer provides a convenient mechanism to overcome these issues. Let's look at the next example and the mechanism for binding PDF form fields to data fields. So here are the scenarios this application takes care of. There's a company X that buys products and services from various companies. Let's call them vendors. Since company X needs to pay its vendors, it needs the tax ID of its vendors to file tax information forms. The vendor may send the W9 form as a filled PDF or as a scanned image of the form. When the tax information is in the form of a scanned image, the information needs to be input manually. For this, the application provides a way to create a new record while using the real PDF form as a template for data entry. And that's this form. When the tax information is sent as a filled PDF form, there's the other option to upload the form to capture the contained data. And here's the structure for vendor tax information table. It uses different field names than the W9 PDF form, and tax classification is resolved by reading just one field. So how do we connect the PDF form and the database? Let's look at the code. First, we set the viewer's field data source property to the data source we want to persist the retrieved form data to. And then we map each of the PDF fields to their corresponding data fields by their name. To do this, we call the field mapping method on the viewer passing the PDF form field. For the text classification radio buttons, we map all the related PDF form fields to the same data field. And then we map the true or the check state value of each radio button to the string values for text classifications they actually convey. These are the string values that get stored in the table. And with this setup, the manual adding and retrieval of vendor tax information is implemented. Let's run the program. We have a couple of records already in the table. Now, let me load the PDF form that will just serve as the template for data entry. So we can see now that the field values change as the database record changes. I can change in any of the places and the actual value gets reflected in the other. Okay, let's undo those changes. And I can also add new records in this way. So this works. So that was about manually adding records to the tax information database. But using the tax information form as our template. Let's clear this record. Now, how do we upload or import data from field forms? Let's see. The new version of XtremeDocumentStudio introduces a new component called Document Data Extractor. We have used this new component to import filled PDF forms in this application. So how do we use it? We set the destination data source property to say where the data needs to get collected. We set up the fields the same way as we did on the viewer, including the field mapping for the checkbox field, and also the values the same way as we did on the viewer. And then we supply the list of PDF forms that we want to upload through the source documents property. And then we run the extractor calling the execute method on the object. So in future versions, we will be extending the data extractor to support other types of document elements and other formats. Currently, the data extractor supports importing PDF forms data only. Let's run this operation in the application. So I'm going to select some already fed PDF forms. Make sure we select what's already not entered. Leave this one out and this one. Okay. Upload forms. The forms are uploaded, and then we can go back into the retrieve mode and see the records entered within the template. Okay, now that we have captured the data, we want to generate reports on that data and export those reports to PDF. The report export component for first report will be included in XtremeDocumentStudio, and I have a preview version of it integrated into this application right now. The report export component will support exporting to PDF and PDFA as well. Let's quickly have a look at the code. So for generating a normal PDF, we create an instance of the fast report export component, and then we call the export to file method on that object, passing the report and the output file name and the format we want to export to. For getting out PDF-A output, we simply access the encoder preferences for PDF on that object and set its subset version to PDF-A and call the export to file method. So let's go back again to the application and have a look at the report and the PDF versions of it. So that's the report. It's a simple one listing all the vendors and PDF and PDF-A, something that many of our customers have been waiting for. So you can see that it conforms to the PDF-A 1B standard. So we're done with the demos for this presentation. Here's what we have planned next for XtremeDocumentStudio. We are working on bringing in all the capabilities of eDocEngine into XtremeDocumentStudio with regard to report export and document creation. Then we are enhancing support for viewing already supported formats and including more formats. We'll also have PDF A3B support, which is a critical requirement for our customers in Germany. And support for most of this functionality under FireMonkey is also on the way, starting with the document viewer. That's all I had for this presentation. Thank you for listening. All right. Hi again, David. And I just wanted to say thank you to Embarcadero for hosting us on the Partner Spotlight series. Yeah, it's been the support from Embarcadero has been great for whatever we're doing, and thank you for that. Okay, so yeah, there's some questions already. Do I go ahead, David? Okay, I'm not able to hear David, but let me see. I hope people are hearing me. So the first question I see here is, how does the tool map C1, C2, F1 elements to of the document? So the tool does not map it. The code or the methods given, the developer needs to map it. And you need to know which field is what holds what information actually. So one way is to actually enter values in that field and see, that is visually, when you open the form, enter values and see what field gets what value, and then you know how to map it. Also, one thing I did not show is the interactive viewer. When you switch on interactive viewing, if you hover the mouse, you can actually see the field name on the field. So yeah, that's just as a user you get that information, but as a programmer you would have to actually look in the form, study the form, and then you can map it. Yeah, is Acrobat Reader and MS Word required? No. This is all written 100% in Delphi, and yeah, actually you can see that the rendering is how you would see it in Adobe, and even Word documents render as you see in Microsoft Office for the depth of the spec we support at this point. Comments, okay, insert comments into a PDF and saving it to disk is possible. So if you mean inserting metadata, it is possible using eDocEngine and PDFtoolkit at this point. Not yet in XtremeDocumentStudio, but that will come in. Okay, so you say take notes inside their version of the chapter. So I think you mean insert annotations rather than, okay, sorry, I think I read this wrong. So comments as in, yeah, the normal comments as you would see in Word, yes, that's also possible. So you would insert an annotation using the add annotation API. So David, yes, that's not actually metadata, but adding annotations, yes, that's possible. Does the PDF form viewer support JavaScript? If you mean process JavaScript on PDF forms, no, it does not. We are actually working on having that engine in so we can process JavaScript and apply yeah, the results of the JavaScript onto forms or invoke some actions that are coded in the JavaScript. But we do support encoding of JavaScript. So you can insert JavaScript on your PDF forms using the APIs, but the viewer does not process it. PDF file. So producing PDF files from forms or RTF components. Oh yes, so that's possible using eDocEngine. We actually have an article on the eDocEngine page in the article section on exporting from different reports and from rich text components and the T-rich view component as well.
That was my own personal question. If you have protected PDF documents, is there something you can do to use those, or?
So you're asking, I think, so if you have a password protected file, you want to read it through the system, or you just want to read it at a personal level?
Yes,
or open it
to put the password in so you can.
Yeah, so there are two levels of passwords in PDF, and it's in fact quite similar in Office documents as well. So there's a something called a user password and an owner password. So the person who created the document would normally put an owner password to prevent people from changing the rights for the document, but can or it's up to the owner to leave or set a user password. So you can just leave the user password empty, so it won't ask you for any password to open the file. But if you need to change things, for example, the owner can turn off printing on the PDF or copying on the PDF. Those the user will not be able to do unless they have the owner password. Yeah, was that something?
Yeah, that was my question. And
okay.
You mentioned all the way through Delphi, but you support C++ Builder as well, right?
Oh yes. So XtremeDocumentStudio. In fact, at this point, all the products are on the same level with regard to support for Delphi and C++ Builder.
Okay. Nina has another question.
Bookmark capability. I want the headers from MS Word to be translated to bookmarks. Okay. Okay. Okay, so when you convert the document or when you view the document? I guess view the document. Okay. So yeah, this is again one of my pet requirements, actually, or my favorite requirements, to take a document, Word document, and read all the heading styles, or basically the styles, and determine the bookmarks. We do that in PDF at this point. It's possible, not on Word documents yet. But yes, that is in our list, a big list of features to support. Also, one more piece of information about this password. So it's up to the application to respect the owner's, what the owner set about the permissions. So if it is enough to know the user password for a program to read everything of the document. So it's up to the tool to enforce the owner's intentions for the use of the document. So that's a little secret. Yeah, so once you get into documents, you know that, because so to actually show the document, you need to be able to read all the information. The rights are simply like metadata or another piece of information, so it's up to the tool to enforce that. So what we do in that case, so if the user has prevented something, we trigger an event that says the user has not allowed this operation, and the program can decide whether it wants to allow the end user to go ahead or be able to perform those operations. So that's a decision we took on how to support this.
In your demo code, you had all these calls to do the mappings.
Mm-hmm.
I could have a table in a database that would have two columns: the PDF form ID, field ID, and then the data, and I could just and call the field mapping rather than writing.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you asked that question, because that's how I would like to do it as a Delphi developer. Just at design time, bring up the actual template form where the fields are listed, and then you also have the database fields listed alongside, and you just simply link them up, just like you built the master detail relationship in the IDE. So we will have that, yes. I think that's what you were asking, David.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd go crazy. Well, I could copy and paste to create all those statements.
Yeah, I know.
Sort of like visual pipelines for documents.
Right. Yeah, I'm also a lazy programmer. I'm a Delphi programmer, meaning I want to write less code as.
We're not lazy. We're just
right. We're actually smart.
Yep. Martin asked, do you plan to support C++? But he saw on the page that you already support C++ along with Delphi.
Okay.
And then he said, never mind. Okay. He's asked, is this all about Gnostice? And I just replied, each Friday we're putting a spotlight on one technology partner, and this week is Gnostice. Okay. So Richard asks, so the studio is the way to go to allow me to map documents in PDF forms?
Yeah, I was beginning to answer that. So if you mean in the viewer, yes, XtremeDocumentStudio is the product that can do that. But if you are looking for APIs to access form fields, then PDFtoolkit can do that today. And also, it supports interactive filling of forms, but not connecting to a database.
So for connecting to database, then you need XtremeStudio, is that right?
Correct. Yeah, I just put in, let me see.
And XtremeStudio has everything, is that right?
At this point, viewers for various formats, printer, that is a component to print various formats. It has a really powerful document converter from PDF to docx, and PDF to RTF, that is a flow-based Word RTF. And now the report export capability has come in. Also, you have APIs to create documents. Yeah, so at least that's the vision. That is going to be everything for documents.
And Martin asks, and maybe you just answered it, he wants to know if you can build PDF files from scratch, like PDFjet or...
You can do that right now using eDocEngine, but that API is coming in to XtremeDocumentStudio as well.
So Richard asks, when you speak of FireMonkey support, does this include Mac OS X or just Windows?
So we actually already support Mac OS X with the viewer. So our FireMonkey viewer supports OS X and Windows and iOS at this point. Android support is not there yet. That's something we are working on.
Okay, and Eliseo asked this, I think the same question. He was asking about the FMX or FireMonkey support. So Windows, iOS, and OS X working on Droid.
And there's a Coleridge presentation on this where we used our server product to build an Android viewer. So it used the server to convert documents to images and actually gave a nice viewer on Android. So if a server-based solution will work, right now we support all platforms that can talk to that Delphi supports and platforms that can work on a REST-based API model.
Okay.
Technology.
Okay, well, Girish, thank you for doing the two presentations today. Sorry it's so late for you in the Friday evening.
No problem. It's a pleasure. And thank you to you. Thanks to you, David, and to Embarcadero for hosting us.